Today it is time for a professional match of StarCraft 2, and what I've got for you is a Zerg versus Terran, where we find ourselves on the map Triton. Now, I was reading this interview with Solar yesterday. Solar, of course, one of the very strongest Zerg players in the world, and he mentioned that a few of the Korean pros that have returned after their mandatory military service are once again looking very, very strong. And one of the names that he specifically named off is the player here with the blue Zerg drones. In the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we're looking inside of the main base of DRG. Now, apparently DRG... he's got the Solar seal of approval, but if you've been watching StarCraft 2 ever since Wings of Liberty, you probably recognize his nickname. He used to also go under the name Dongregu, which at some point I think he abbreviated to DRG. But he was very, very popular, especially during the Wings of Liberty era, so like 2010 to maybe 2013 or so. Now apparently he's getting really good again. I'm excited to see what he can do against someone of the caliber of his opponent. Playing here with the red SCVs from Mexico, we're looking inside of the main base of SpeCial. SpeCial, probably the strongest non-Korean Terran player right now. Honestly, one of the very strongest Terran players in the world, period. He practices over in South Korea pretty much the entire year, if I'm not mistaken. You can also see his clan tag right there. It's got that Korean text. I have no idea what it says, but there's no denying that SpeCial is really, really good, and I'm excited to see what DRG can do against someone of this caliber. Another thing actually that Solar also said in that interview, and for those of you interested, I'll go ahead and post a link to it down below in the description in case you want to read it as well. One thing that got me really excited is that apparently Björn, who is still doing his mandatory military service, so I don't really know how that works like time-wise, but Björn is apparently sitting right now on the Korean Grandmaster League ladder at about 6.8, 6.9k MMR. That is much higher than most of the pro gamers over in South Korea. I mean, to put it in perspective, Maru apparently just barely touched 7k. You know, the fact that, like, Björn, while not even being able to play this game full-time, is sitting at, like, 6.9 is pretty ridiculous. Björn, for those of you unfamiliar, if you've been watching StarCraft for only, like, a year or two, he won, actually, BlizzCon a couple years ago, and he's also the reason that these guys right over here, these Jetpack Raiders, got nerfed. Björn was too good at microing Reapers, and, well, I believe it was after he won BlizzCon, but they ended up getting a nerf just because Björn was a little bit too good at that. For those of you curious, I just looked it up, so Björn is expected to return sometime in either August or September this year. So the military service over in South Korea, I think, I don't know the specifics, but from what I could gather, you have to do it before you are 28 years old, and the mandatory military service is about 18 months long. But apparently you do have some time to, like, you know, apparently play some StarCraft in the meantime as well. Pretty insane, though. So I'm excited. 2020 is looking really, really good already. Another name that he actually named off was Dream. Some of you might recall Dream, a Terran player, who also was very good back in the day. He also returned to pro gaming recently, and, well, I mean, recently, probably already a year or so. It's exciting, though, because the thing is, a lot of the names that we had back in the day, they just sort of faded away. I'm really curious to know what, for example, MVP is doing these days. What is Nesty up to, right? Those are names that we saw a lot back in the day. But, I mean, they had to either do their mandatory military service, and then they decided to, like, you know, either, like, get, like, a normal job, ew, a regular job, crazy, or maybe become, like, a team manager or something like that, right? But a lot of them just sort of faded off the face of the earth, and I would love to know what they're actually up to these days. But apparently DRG has decided to return, and, well, I believe I casted a game of him like maybe a couple months, maybe a half year or so ago. Yeah, I'm excited to see how good he is right now, because, you know, half year is a very long time. Anyways, so back in the day, right, when DRG was very good, Zerg was played very, very differently. I mean, when you think about it, right, a lot of the units that we use every single day right now weren't even part of the game. I mean, in the early days of Wings of Liberty, you had to, like, research siege mode. That's something a lot of people have forgotten about. Imagine right now if, like, you had to research siege mode before your siege tanks could, like, siege. That's insane. That would be ridiculous. Another unit that wasn't added back in the early days of StarCraft was, of course, the Liberator. Hard to imagine the game without him right now. Pretty sure Zerg would just, you know, smash everyone if there wasn't any Liberators in the game, but, or if there weren't any Liberators in the game, but, yeah. It's funny, though, because a lot of the Zerg players that I've casted that are, like, considered old school, so the Wings of Liberty guys, for example, they tend to play that style that is very Wings of Liberty-esque. So what I mean with that is like Muta Ling Bane kind of armies. I don't know if that's gonna be the case, but I'm excited to see if that will be happening here. Anyways, a little bit of a skirmish here between these two players in the early game. Honestly, like, I haven't really touched on it very much. Primarily because nothing really excited has happened. I know some people, like, I read the comments every once in a while, like all of them, right? And then I see some people complain in the comment section, like, oh my god, Loko's not even talking about the game for the first 5 minutes. It's just that, like, I've seen these first 5 minutes a dozen times before. Looks like, yeah, it is going to be a bio transition right here. So that's the first... did I say a dozen times? I meant like 1,000 times before. Yeah, this is the first, like, big thing of note. So a lot of the Terran players recently have been playing the Terran mech-based army. Apparently in this game, we're gonna be seeing some Terran bio instead. Liberator over at the third base will be shut down. Liberator over in the main base will also be denied easily. At the same time, though, we do have those Hellbats ready to move out, and I don't see a lot of Banelings yet. 6 of them are currently morphing in. Lings going around the back trying to see if they can catch some of those stray Marines instead. Queen's obviously pretty good, especially when spread out, so they can mitigate some of that splash damage of those Hellbats. And so far, you know what? Despite him not having any, like, real answer to having those Hellbats out, yeah, I mean, the Banelings were the nail in the coffin, I suppose, but the Queens already dealt with them just fine. Absolutely shut down that attack there from SpeCial. That certainly was supposed to deal a little bit more damage, and while, you know, a couple Queens fell, a couple Zerglings fell as well, it really is up to the Terran player to slow down the Zerg in these instances, because if you don't pay attention, right, there's going to be a 4th base coming up, there's going to be a 5th base coming up. Zerg is going to be at 90 workers very quickly if you blink twice as a Terran player. So losing all of those units, not only does it, like, you know, cost you the units, but it also alleviates a lot of the pressure that Zerg is really supposed to be under, especially when you go up against someone who's playing bio. So usually when it comes to, like, playing bio, you have to continuously execute these timing attacks, because otherwise Zerg is just gonna run away with the victory. You have to try and at least, like, soft contain them in a way. You have to make sure that you try and obtain that tempo advantage, so eventually you can continuously rally across the center of the map. All right. Very late upgrades here, actually, for DRG. We see them quite a bit sooner here for SpeCial, which is very nice for him. It means that there's going to be like a half minute or so where he can execute a push, where he's going to have upgrades and his opponent won't. Usually, though, we don't really see that coming into effect all too much until, like, +2/+2. And especially with 3/3, because Zerg also needs a hive for that. But nice little upgrade advantage right here for SpeCial, so certainly not always lost. Well, this will be cleaned up very, very smoothly. Obviously, it's mostly just about cleaning the creep, right? A lot of the aggression these days, looks like the Liberator actually also came back around, but a lot of the aggression these days is just to try and slow down the creep. Getting Queens, therefore, is absolutely massive. Top-level Zerg players will try and recreate some of those Queens as well, but having that extra hotkey group of just a couple of Queens dedicated to the creep spread is very, very critical. Once again, you see immediately one of the tumors go down and a whole bunch of the new ones get added on. It's like, what is it, Medusa's head? You cut off one of them and then, like, 7 return or something. I'm not entirely sure on the specifics of that story, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? You kill one creep tumor and immediately multiples of them return. Another unit, actually, that wasn't part of the game, imagine this, right? It's crazy, but another unit that wasn't part of the game when DRG was popular is the Widow Mine. How weird is that? Imagine a game right now without Widow Mines. And by the way, there it is. There is a Spire coming up. Okay. So this is what I mean. A lot of the old school Zerg players, they love playing the old school styles. Obviously, the game is very different, though. Not only have new units been added on, we also know that Terran players in general are way better. A little bit of a push right now towards the bottom left-hand corner, while also, well, at the very least, threatening a drop towards the main base. Nice position here, actually, for the Terran, but yeah, the Widow Mines, you need to be very careful. You don't want to just accidentally blow them all up. Ooh. And that was some beautiful baiting right there by SpeCial. Excellent work there. Gets a massive detonation on that Widow Mine. Slows down the Zerg player ever so slightly. And despite, you know, SpeCial being like 20 supply behind earlier, he's caught up very, very well just by those little bits of microaggression here on the map. Nicely done. So I think when it comes to, like, reasons why Muta Ling Bane has kind of fallen off, right? And we're going to see it again in this game. I mean, the top-level Zerg players right now, like, for example, Dark, like, for example, Raynor, like, for example, Cyril, they generally speaking don't execute Muta Ling Bane anymore. Couple reasons for that. First off, other units have gotten really good. That's a good reason. Secondly, the opponents have gotten way better. So in the early days of Wings of Liberty, I'd actually hold that thought because it looks like we have a bit of an engagement over here. Mutas decide to go way off creep. A little bit of a brave move here. Those Terran units are just going to be split, right? Well, you know what? Yeah, no, I think eventually it will be pushed back. Yeah, usually fighting off creep doesn't really work. But one of the things that we saw, for example, back in the early days of StarCraft is that as soon as, like, a couple Mutas were shown on the map and they, like, headed into the main base, say, like, Mutas would fly here on the left-hand side of the map, Terrans would literally storm stim every single Marine and every single Marauder just to try and, like, kill those Mutas. Well, that doesn't happen anymore, obviously. Players just simply make missile turrets and stuff right now, and, well, apparently SpeCial is feeling too good for even those. Just confident that he can defend against at least most of this, just by being a little bit more intelligent with his positioning on the Marines and all that. It's pretty funny, though. Like, we've come a very long way in StarCraft. Another big thing, actually, that also really reduced the effectiveness of Mutalisks is the maps. So maps really are designed differently these days than they were in Wings of Liberty. In general, it just makes it very difficult to get much done. Like, for example, right, one thing that we saw a lot is that as soon as Mutas were out, Terrans would stop their drop harass. But because of the increase in sizes on the map, Terrans just simply continue dropping right now despite Mutas technically being out. Like, on paper, these units are already countered, but you can see right here, there's Marines spread out. There's a lot of vision here on the map in general for the Terran. He knows that there's not likely to be anything spotting this Medivac. Well, right now it will be spotted, so I wouldn't be surprised if, like, at least the Mutas are going to be headed over there in a second. Well, they're actually busy sniping a Liberator over here, but simply, like, a lot of changes have happened that kind of reduce the strength of Mutas. Mutas, though, they, like, from time to time, they really do look imbalanced. Mutas are very much so like a unit that reward more active play and really reward good players. For example, I suck with playing Mutalisk, I'll be honest. Whenever I play Mutas, I basically always lose the game. What's a good example? How can I explain this easier? Mutas really, like, they're like paperweights, you know? Like, they're very good. And actually, hold that thought once again, because we have once more a big engagement over here. Luckily for SpeCial, oh my god, massive set of Widow Mines. But luckily for SpeCial, he just barely killed those rocks before the swarm could advance. He's gonna try and back up towards the safety of his bases. Marauders right now in the front as well. They are there to take some of those baneling hits. Beautiful micro there by the Mexican Terran player. And he's going to be able to ward this away. What was I saying? I was saying something. Oh, right, yeah. So Mutas are very much so a unit that do a lot of damage. They regenerate very quickly as well. But if you don't pay attention to them for like 5 seconds, there's a chance that like a bunch of Marines get underneath and will snipe them all out of the sky. They very much so reward good players. If you compare that, for example, to like an Ultralisk, right? I would say an Ultralisk is about as good in like a top-level pro gamer's hands as it is in like a Diamond League player's hand. There's not really that much value that you can get out of Ultras by microing them. Mutas, though, very different. Now, Thors have been added into the mix as well. Thors, obviously, ridiculous amounts of splash damage. While this engagement is happening right here on the creep, Zerg is also going in for a counterattack. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, I feel like you need to go into the natural, my man. Try and see if you can snipe some of those juicy SCVs. In the meantime, though, the Terran player has won that fight. So another hatchery will be killed. Banelings, in the meantime, rolling forward. Ooh. SpeCial, though, paying attention, but maybe he accidentally clumped up some of those units. I would have lost every single SCV there. But he just barely managed to keep all of those alive, with only 4 of them getting picked off. Now, by the way, this is where that upgrade advantage is absolutely massive, right? So Terran's already at 3-3. Because of the Muta Ling Bane style, because of the late Evo chambers, there's like, you know, still no 3-3 upgrades. So SpeCial should really be able to create an opportunity for him right now to potentially win the game over the next couple of, well, I would say like the next minute or so. Once Zerg catches up in upgrades, it's going to be very difficult to achieve. And he knows that he's going to be in a little bit of a timer. Still though, DRG moving so aggressively off creep. Normally not something I advise doing. I love this though. It's like watching Wings of Liberty once again. Seriously. I'm still a little hesitant, though, to calling this an advantage here for the Zerg. I mean, he doesn't have that many workers. Normally, we see this style done off of, like, 90, sometimes even 100. So you can replace and replenish this kind of army a little bit easier. The Widow Mines is such good positions as well. Love the fact that Marauders are added in here just to soak some of that damage. And you know what, SpeCial? Beautiful work here. Will be able to clean up that hatchery, and that's going to severely harm this Zerg player right now. Still, though, needs to micro right over here as well. Ooh, massive Widow Mine detonation actually right there. Got rid of a lot of those Banelings. At the same time, a couple of Zerglings have apparently made their way over towards the third base of the Terran player. These will likely be cleaned up here in a little bit as well, though, as reinforcements will be coming up. Looks like SpeCial actually was preoccupied for a little bit. Started stacking up quite a lot of resources. So SpeCial actually didn't produce anything for just a little bit. You can see his mineral count and his gas count went way up. Alright, so DRG managed to stay alive. He still has that base in the bottom left-hand corner. SpeCial knows about it, but it's very difficult to really to start like an advancement towards that section of the map. He's instead gonna go for his own high ground expo with a planetary fortress. I love this. It's a beautiful anchor point to fall back into. Really like the idea of having 2 missile turrets there as well. These mutas are not gonna be able to kill them. Nope, you need to get out of there, my man. It's not gonna happen. So where do you go from here if you are Zerg, right? Where do you go from here? Did he go for like like hive tech? Okay, yeah, now he's going for it. I was gonna say, like, you can't just stick around on Muta Ling Bane for too long, because eventually Terran is gonna make that switch towards, for example, like Liberators and all kinds of other units that are much more late game focused. So I like the idea of adding in Ultras right now, because obviously they benefit from the same upgrades as these Zerglings and Banelings as well. SpeCial though, ooh, my god, not paying attention for a little bit. Luckily for him, didn't go too terribly. In the meantime, once again, a couple of Zerglings going in for the counterattack. But this is starting to look a little bit more tough right now, though, for SpeCial. I mean, yeah, he still has a lot of bases, but I kind of feel like he missed a massive opportunity not pushing a little bit harder with 3-3 upgrades. He's done a great job right now reducing the creep spread, but slowly but surely that's being laid down once again as well. A couple of SCVs apparently pulled off the mineral line as well. They're going to be moving forward with this army over here, probably accidentally added to that hotkey group. Playing very cautiously, though, is SpeCial. Like, he's not really trying to take any unnecessary risks. Once again, splitting beautifully. Man, this looks like a game from 2013. Here comes the swarm from the left-hand side. Normally, you don't move off creep whenever you fight Terran with Widow Mines. But apparently, DRG is feeling confident that he can pull it off. Cleans that entire army up with a massive amount of mutas. Well, he's only got 11 right now. How many he's lost? He's lost 18. So, yeah, he's made like, you know, a lot of mutas. I'm not even going to try and do math. Terrible idea, Lowko. Whenever I do math, I always get it wrong. Even if it's like 4 plus 6. I'm like, what's that, 12? Sure, Lowko. Sure, it's 12. Yeah, so SpeCial is now kind of stuck in like this Marauder, you know, Marine Marauder Medivac mine situation, okay? What is going on over here? Hey, guys, come on. I know you're all lazy and stuff, but why? Okay, yeah. So I feel like SpeCial needs to start making a bit of a late game transition, because this is very much so a mid game army, and right now we see Ultralists coming out. Ultras in general, not the best Zerg unit in the game, probably the worst actually, but they do have their use, and I feel like they're especially good in Zerg versus Terran when Terrans are stuck on a mid game army and they haven't made a late game transition yet. So when it comes to late game, oh, big one, big detonation. When it comes to late game units, I want to say like Ghosts and then also Liberators are absolutely key. This is still Marine Marauder Medivac Mine. Basically any units that start with an M. Maybe it's because you don't have Ghosts and Liberators. Liberator? No, that doesn't work. Ghosts makes more sense. That sounds like Milady though, I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, these Ultras definitely can be very helpful here without a proper counter. Now, obviously Widow Mines, Marines, and Marauders aren't bad against Ultras, but I wouldn't say they're particularly good. Once again, he keeps moving off creep! Massive Baneling detonation. What you gotta keep in mind though is that DRG is mining quite a lot right here. He has been sitting on like 80 plus workers for a long time. Now with Micro, obviously, yeah, this is why Ultras kind of suck at what I was trying to say earlier. You know, like, DRG can't control them any better than like you and me can, you know? You just got sort of a tech move with them, and that's about it. Did he get the Speedy Boy upgrade? He didn't get the Speedy Boy upgrade yet for the Ultralists. Would love to see those coming up as well. On creep though, Ultra's still going to be very quick. But you can see the value right here of Marine Marauder Medivac. Very, very nice. In the meantime, SpeCial wants to move in on the right-hand side. I think what SpeCial's plan here is to just simply... It's probably just here to force the Zerg player to never get this base up and running and never really mine any additional resources. Which makes sense, but it also gives Zerg at least like another 10 minutes or so of time. As long as he can keep trading this way without transitioning towards late game, it's fine. It just only takes like one bad engagement for the Zerg player to be overwhelmed, or to be able to overwhelm this. I feel like this fight has been taking place on like the Zerg side of things ever since like the start of the game. Now with most of the Marines gone though, that means that those Mutas can start working on some of the Marauders. Still though, there's about 1 million missile turrets here in the center of the map. That army is not going to be taking that much damage. 15 drones actually ended up going down here as well. I think that must have been in the center. 9 kills right there on that Widowmine. Zerg desperately trying to get another base up though, and this is absolute key, right? Without DRG getting another base up, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. He doesn't really have the opportunity right now to add on additional drones anymore either. Terran though took the base in the top right-hand corner, which I really, really like. That's a lot of missile turrets once again, but better be safe than sorry. Losing this base would really be like losing a lifeline. You can't afford doing that. Here we go, though. Zerg actually set up what seems to be a bit of a flank. Terran, you're stuck out in the map. You're stuck between a bunch of Ultras. Muta Ling Bane Ultralists coming in from every single side. Luckily for the Terran player, he does have a couple of medevacts ready to evacuate, but the majority of the Terran army just fell in a matter of seconds. Banelings really do blow up everything really, really nicely right now. SpeCial's kind of at the mercy of the Baneling RNG. Trying to figure out if the Widowmines accidentally like roll into, or rather the Widowmines accidentally connect into those rolling Banelings. And all of a sudden, yeah, with DRG setting up a massive flank, having Ultras coming in from the left, Ultras coming in from the right, Banelings coming from either side as well. All of a sudden, the Terran player has been overrun. Looks like in the meantime, those Widowmines still sitting out over here. They're gonna have a very hard time getting back home as well. I would love to see this cleaned up, although, oh my god, be careful, please. You need an overseer, my man. You need an overseer! Oh, don't make it. No, stop the pain. Okay, there it is. There it is. Most importantly, though, this is that tempo that I was talking about at the beginning of the game. Terran needs to continuously push and establish tempo. As soon as they lose tempo on the map, guess what happens? Zerg gets another base up, Zerg gets another base up, right? You gotta make sure you continuously push here. And what's special, kind of losing that pacing here in the game, this base will likely be a massive issue because DRG is once again getting full saturation over here, and he's going to be able to harvest a ton of additional resources. That once again, like, I like the style that SpeCial is playing. Like, I think it's fine to stick on a mid-game army if you can prevent those bases, but since he hasn't made that late-game transition, I'm starting to be a little bit worried here because DRG is once again mining his heart out. Once these bases start running out, right, the one in the center and the one in the top right, SpeCial doesn't have anywhere to go. And he's gonna have to fight this army on creep. And he's gonna be in a lot of trouble. And we're only like a few minutes away from that moment. Despite DRG playing like a 2011 playstyle, he sort of seems to make it work here. I'm still not sold on it. What year is it? Anyways, you can see these pushes there right now, though, from SpeCial are starting to become way more significant, right? Rather than like splitting it up into two smaller armies, he's now wanting to take one big fight. But once again, I kind of feel like you are at the mercy right then, at the mercy of like the Widowmine RNG. You need to get a good favorable trait. And when like the Zerg keeps out bleeding out units right there, sacrificing as many of those hits as possible. I mean, the Terran is actually in a lot of trouble. What upgrades are these Mutas? They're a +2 flyer. Okay. They seem to do a lot of damage. Huh. What year is it? This really does look like a Heart of the Swarm, early Heart of the Swarm game. Isn't it Heart of the Swarm where Widowmines get added in? I think it's Liberators in Legacy of the Void. Liberators in Cyclones, I want to say. I'm not even sure. It's weird to like imagine the game without those two units. Marauders, though, getting a lot of value. They're dealing a lot of damage actually to those Ultralisks. I guess one downside, right, of playing against someone who has a lot of Mutas as a Terran player right now is making the transition towards Mass Liberator is going to be very hard. I think you basically have to go like Marine Liberator at that point, but you need some insane micro in order to pull that kind of thing off. Speaking of insane micro, SpeCial actually seems to be pulling a rabbit out of a hat right now. He was having a lot of trouble fighting that Zerg army off creep. Now he's been fighting on creep, and it's been going way, way better. Still, though, I'm looking at these mining bases, the outer bases here for DRG. He's got several lifelines. He is not really, like, too bothered with losing this base here. This base actually is almost running out as well, so he doesn't really care too much about this position anymore. Terran, in the meantime, forced to back off once again off creep. How is he winning the fights off creep, but losing the ones on creep? DRG, how does this work? Explain this to me. I don't get it. Once again, backs up, waiting for Zerg reinforcements to come in. He's always morphing in Banelings as well. I feel like that's one of the keys. Like, whenever he's moving off creep, he's always morphing in new Banelings. Even if it's just a couple. It forces the Terran player to back off. Maybe right now, though, is when SpeCial can finally get a bit of a trade. But no, once again, there's a couple Banelings available. Without proper support, these Ultras can do a lot of damage too. And now with the... Oh my god, the Marines gone. SpeCial's like, wait a second. My bases are starting to run out. I want a mid-game army. I don't have anything left to do. GG is cold. And DRG, with a game that looks like it's straight from like 2013, ends up winning this match. What a sick game. Okay, so going into this, I actually really did not expect DRG to do so very well with this. Not just because, you know, SpeCial's ridiculously good, but also because of the choices that he made. It really does look like an old game of StarCraft. Really, really, really cool. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile alright. And I'll see you once again in the next one. Hey, by the way, if SpeCial would have been playing under his old nickname of Major in this game instead, and, you know, we wouldn't have had those couple of Liberators in the early game, I could probably have sold this as like a an early Heart of the Swarm match. Seriously. It really did feel like a Heart of the Swarm game.